So today we're diving into something pretty big. It's a secret proposal from Iran, and it could be a game changer for its dangerous deadlock with the United States. We're talking about a really high-stakes gamble here, one aimed at ending a conflict that's already sent ripples across the entire globe.
So let's set the stage. For months now, things between Washington and Tehran have been, well, they've been stuck, really stuck. Direct talks have pretty much gone nowhere, military tensions are still simmering, and there's this super fragile ceasefire that feels like the only thing holding things back from all-out conflict. The whole atmosphere is just thick with distrust and, frankly, a lot of frustration.
And right at the heart of all this tension, it's the Strait of Hormuz. This is one of the most critical maritime choke points on the entire planet. Iran knows this, and they've used their control over it as leverage. At the same time, the U.S. has hit back with its own blockade on Iranian ports. What you get is this dangerous game of economic chicken, and the consequences are felt everywhere.
But what if there's a new way forward? A new plan has been quietly passed along through mediators, and this one's different. It's a two-stage proposal, and the whole idea is to kind of sidestep the exact issues that have sunk every other peace attempt. So yeah, the big question we're all asking is, could this actually work?
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of the proposal itself, we really need to understand the backdrop here. Because this isn't just some diplomatic spat. No, this is a conflict that has already come with a heavy, heavy price.
And this quote from President Trump, it really sums up the official White House position perfectly. It's basically saying, we're not talking unless you meet our conditions first. That puts the ball squarely in Iran's court. And when the official phone lines go dead like this, that's exactly when these back-channel proposals, these secret talks to a third party, become so incredibly important.
So what's the situation on the ground? Well, the grim reality is this. Yeah, there's been a ceasefire since late February, but let's be real, it's just a pause. There's no actual peace agreement. Thousands have already been killed. Global markets is still totally on edge from all the instability. This stalemate isn't just a talking point, it's very, very real.
So how do you break a deadlock like this one? Well, Iran thinks it has an idea. They're trying something new. It's this pragmatic, two-stage plan that's been passed along through mediators. And the whole design is super specific. Get past the logjam by dealing with the biggest, most urgent problems first.
And the key here, the really crucial part is the sequencing. Iran is basically saying, hey, let's put out the fire that's burning down the house right now before we argue about how to fireproof the whole neighborhood. The whole idea is to solve the immediate economic and military crisis, the thing that's hurting everybody today, and then, only then, deal with the much trickier, long-term nuclear debate.
Okay, so here's how it's supposed to work. Step 1 is all about de-escalation. Simple, right? Reopen the strait, lift the U.S. blockade, and get a formal end to the war on paper. Only after all of that is done, after the immediate crisis is over, would everyone move on to step 2. And that's the really complex, really contentious stuff, the negotiations over Iran's nuclear program.
So you might be wondering, why is reopening the Strait of Hormuz such a big deal? Why is it the centerpiece of this whole plan? Well, it's because this little narrow waterway is, and this is not an exaggeration, probably the single most critical artery for the entire global economy.
Think about this number, 1/5. Just a simple fraction, right? But it has absolutely massive implications for global stability and for the price you end up paying for gas.
Yep, that's right. 1/5 of the entire world's oil supply has to squeeze through this one tiny choke point. And by controlling it, Tehran holds some serious leverage. They can cause immediate pain to global markets whenever they want. And that's the pressure point they're pushing for sure.
And what this has turned into is this really dangerous game of tit for tat. Iran messes with the oil flow through Hormuz, so in response, the U.S. slaps a blockade on Iran's ports, which just cripples their trade. And the result? Price spikes and crazy volatility for pretty much everyone. It's basically economic warfare, and the entire world is feeling the aftershocks.
Okay, so if the whole logic of this new plan is to separate the immediate crisis from the long-term stuff, that begs a pretty big question. What are the demands that make those long-term talks so incredibly difficult to begin with?
And yeah, you can see right here just how massive that gap is. On the one hand, for Iran, lifting that blockade is an absolute non-starter. It has to happen first. For them, it's about economic survival. It's about a show of good faith. But then you look at the U.S. side, and any relief is just unthinkable without getting long-term guarantees on things like uranium enrichment and their missile program. They see those as fundamental security threats. Their starting positions just could not be further apart.
And that brings us right up to the present moment. The proposal is officially on the table, delivered by those intermediaries, And now, pretty much the whole world is just watching and waiting to see how the White House is going to respond.
Even if it's happening quietly, the diplomatic wheels are definitely turning. You've got Pakistan and Oman playing that crucial role as go-betweens. The White House has the plan in hand, but so far, radio silence on whether they'll even think about it. Meanwhile, Iran isn't just waiting around. They're shoring up support with key allies like Russia. This is turning into a real multi-front diplomatic chess game.
So, in the end, we're left with this one huge question. Is this thing a genuine path to peace? A smart, pragmatic way to de-escalate and maybe, just maybe, start building some trust? Or is it just a clever tactic to get some immediate economic relief, just kicking that can further down the road? Honestly, the next move from Washington, that's going to tell us everything.